Is it challenging when you're a CEO in your 20s?
That's the problem. I'm not Gen Z. I'm not.
How did you think I'm gonna go into gaming?
It was devastating. People weasel out. It built some sort of positive vindictiveness.
Oh, okay. I'll show them.
It was my very first $10,000 check.
Then you contacted Ferrari again. He's like, which color are you talking about?
I wasn't sure this is really happening. I had no idea how games are built.
You just love playing them.
And we were watching the revenue. It said 0, 0, 0. I had one last shot. Dubai.
This is where the action is.
It's an amazing place. It'll give you the hope that you lost.
I don't know if those chances come upon everybody. What does the future look like for this industry?
I stopped playing altogether. The advantage of building the company is you can replace everybody and you can do anyone's job better than they do.
I thought of it that way. Houcem Maiza.
Yes.
A Forbes 30 under 30 gaming CEO who's developed multi-million-dollar startup apps within the rapidly growing world of gaming. I read the article. It was 2023. You're still under 30, right?
Yeah.
20.
Almost.
I've got two boys aged 12 and 9. And if they would look at your profile, they would say, see, Baba, we told you the world of gaming is a big profession in itself. And that's the one we want to pursue. So tell me about your own journey.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. Everybody who looks at my career thinks that like it's been all like a perfect start and this like dream of a job, but the truth is I actually started off like with a totally different career in mind. I come from IT engineering background with a finance degree, so I was supposed to be a financial engineer. The only thing that linked me to gaming was basically because I really like to play games.
Which games? I mean, so at that time...
The very first game that I ever played was around 1998. It was Metal Gear Solid. It was the very first game. So I was way too underage for that game. I was like 3, 4 years old. My big brother used to play that game. So I used to sneak early in the morning on Sundays to play that particular game. And it kind of grew with me. I never stopped seeking the next thing. And basically, I come from Tunisia, so we don't have access to the latest games that are out there. So we needed to wait a long time for new titles to come in. But still, whenever anybody in the family is traveling, basically that was my request. Please bring me, like the CD of this game or that game.
What was the console back then? So you're saying 1998?
Yeah. So basically, it was the very early version of PlayStation 1.
Right, okay.
And Atari.
Atari?
Yeah.
Wasn't Atari like phased out by then?
It was a later version. As I said, so basically these things they come a little bit late when it comes to us. We used to play Prince of Persia at the time.
Yes.
We used to play. I remember we had a laptop that my father bought us, and it was like top notch. I remember it has 8 megabytes of RAM. I mean that was crazy. Come to think of it, it wouldn't even boot my laptop now. But I used to try to run every single game that comes across for me. And the funny thing is that we never had a gaming PC at home. First of all, because the hardware wasn't available in the country at the time. But at the same time, my father would generally want us to use the laptop just to study or to browse the internet for things that are beneficial. I tried to basically install any game that I could, and they never run.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of stayed with me as I
was it the floppy disk era? No, it's probably later, right?
Even the floppy disk. Yeah. I was there.
Okay,
I was there when
okay.
it happened. Yeah,
okay.
I was there. And I mean, that was my very, very first start with gaming.
From being an IT engineer.
Yeah.
Did you apply for jobs in that field with the masters in finance or with the bachelors in finance? How did you think that, okay, I'm going to go into gaming?
Here's something. So basically, I didn't start my company. I never worked for anyone ever in my life. So basically, I started off the bat as a founder. The only thing is that I started my company when I was still in college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in Tunisia, we have what we call a double stage program in which you go 2 years of preparatory examination.
Okay.
where you prepare yourself through lots of math and lots of physics and lots of IT.
Just before the bachelor's or?
No, basically this is an engineering degree.
It's an engineering degree,
Yeah,
okay.
to get an engineering degree, it's a 5-year process.
5-year process,
In
okay.
order to do that, you have to go through a national exam.
Okay.
You get to the national exam after 2 years of very, very intense mathematics and physics examination. And basically, that year, I passed my exam. I got admitted into a very nice IT school. And it was a very easy decision. Tunisia was in a great IT boom. Everybody basically spends a year, 2 years in Tunis, and then they go to France. And then you get yourself a nice career, go to Microsoft, Google, whatsoever. And I was really good at academically speaking. So I had everything really clear in front of me. But basically, I wasn't really sure that I wanted to do that.
To go to Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, being good at something doesn't mean that you like doing it. And I was really good with numbers, but I didn't like it.
Okay.
I wasn't a fan of that. I wanted to do something different. So we said, I went to a couple of friends of mine, and we all passed the exam that year. During the summer, let's go do something interesting. Let's try and go build a game.
Okay, so that's how it started.
Yeah, I mean, let's go start to build a game. We used to be math geeks. So we said, okay, we were 4 people. And we said, okay, let's call it something like, let's call it DD. What does DD mean? We'll call it Delta Dream. Delta as being the 4th letter of the Greek alphabet. And just like out of math book thing. And the funny story is I lived in Tunis. I lived in the capital, and I was studying in the south of the country. So when I got back home, I told them, okay, I prepared my parents' garage, and I had this entire IBM dream in mind. And I told them, okay, I prepared everything. I bought snacks. I have everything. I have screens at home, and let's start doing things. And all of them, they promised they were coming. And I went to the train station. I was waiting for them to come. And I still remember that day. It was a Sunday, and no one came.
Your friends,
Yeah,
who were supposed to
to
develop
be
the
my
game with you.
co-founders.
Co-found, okay.
Yeah, none of them came. So
This is which year?
it was 2016.
2016. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was devastating. You read and you watch too many documentaries, and you watch these TEDx talks, and a lot of people are telling you how great entrepreneurship is, how these people built this amazing company out of dreams. But nobody tells you the cruel part where basically people weasel out of sorts when things are starting to be serious. And now, come to think of it, we are still friends. I mean, they...
Did you WhatsApp them? Hey, I was expecting you on this train.
Yeah, I mean, I called them. I called them, and they didn't want to talk to me. So they were giving the phone to their parents to explain to me why they didn't come. And I get it now. I mean, they got really high degrees, so their parents wanted them to go to these fancy schools. They didn't want them to ruin
their career,
their potential careers.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Now I get it. I was super mad about it, but now I get it.
So did you make Delta Dreams math?
There's just one special mention, is that one of them, out of sympathy, he came a couple of days later just to show support, but he had no interest in pursuing the dream. But I still hold that dear to my heart, because at least on a personal level, he cared enough to come and see me. But yeah, I was pretty clear at the time, I'm gonna do this, whether you guys are on board or not. So they're not coming. It's fine. I don't care. I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna build this company with or without you.
Company. So now it's not just the game now. It's like,
you can think of me in...
Because initially you said, okay, we're going to build this game, right?
Yeah. You can think of this as sort of, it built some sort of positive vindictiveness.
Oh, okay. And I'll show them.
Yeah.
I'll show them.
Yeah. It was purely that. So you guys didn't want to come. I'll prove to you that you regret not coming to that day on that particular train. So yeah, I sat down, I remember 3 days in my parents' garage. I didn't eat, I didn't flinch, I didn't sleep, I didn't do anything, was working day and night on putting together this, basically my very first pitch deck. Putting together what I had in mind, my business plan, what this thing is gonna look like. By the way, I never started a company before, have no idea how companies work, have absolutely nothing to do with this concept, and I don't even know where to start.
And this pitch deck is for someone to invest.
I basically am building it for myself, just to clear. I didn't know what a pitch deck meant at the time. I had no idea what these things mean. But still, I wanted to know. And I started Googling companies in my country and in the region that did the same thing. And I really wanted to jump on the opportunity and make a difference. So I remember at the time, in the summer, I used to go and work in the ports. So I used to go there. I speak 4 languages. So I used to go.
What are the 4 languages?
So I speak Arabic, French, English, and German.
German? Where did German come from?
We learn it in high school.
Oh, okay.
We learn it in high school. And basically, I spoke them fluently. So I used to go to the port. I used to basically translate at the time. I was still a minor, but I was allowed to work, I think, 10 hours a week. I remember my boss at the time. He was a super open-minded guy, an absolutely amazing guy. And I only knew him. He was the only person who knew how these things work. And I gave him a call. And I told him, I'd love to meet with you for a business opportunity.
Oh.
And
what was he doing at the ports?
Yeah, mind you, this was like I was 19 at the time. I was 19. And
how old was he?
I think he's 60. He was 60 then.
Oh,
yeah, he was 60 years old. Yeah, the guy was way older than me. We had a pretty friendly relationship because my father and he are both friends, and also I have a couple of siblings that worked with him before. So I asked them to kind of ease the way, to explain to him that I wanted to meet with him for this business opportunity. So when I met him, I still remember this, and I'm still grateful for this. It only took me 8 minutes. And I remember it was my very first $10,000 check.
Ooh.
And he looked at me and he said, okay, I'm not going to take any percentage in the company. But if this checks out, I want you to keep in mind that who helped you first, and you have to always pay back the favor. So you have to always keep that in mind. And I still remember I've never, ever had that much money in hand. I didn't know what to do with it. And he asked me like the very typical, I don't know if you know the Silicon Valley series.
I know Silicon Valley, not series.
There was an HBO series called Silicon Valley. And he said like, okay, I wrote you a check. Do you have a company? And I was like, no. Do you even know how to create one? And I was, no. So he took in charge, basically opening a company for me, opening a bank account, and he took me to the bankers and introduced me to all of these people. And I thought that $10,000 was a lot of money, way too much money. So I was like, yeah, now I'm on the right road of becoming the richest gaming dude in the block. And I mean, come to think of it, like this brings back a lot of memories. So I started hiring people.
Using that money?
Yeah.
To work in the garage?
Yeah. No, we got ourselves an office.
Oh, okay, you got yourselves an office.
Yeah, now we're rich. I mean, $10,000 was a lot of money at the time.
Yeah.
I remember I brought on board a couple of people. Funny enough, all 3 of us were named Houcem, so we had the same name. And
was that your bias, interview bias?
Yeah,
are you Houcem? You're hired.
Kinda. And again, I have to be very clear about this. I had no idea how games are built. So
you just knew how to play them.
I'm a financial engineer. I mean, I know how to crunch numbers, but I had no idea. I didn't know what Unity was. I didn't know what game development was, how these work, 3D artists, 2D artists, textures. I don't know, a lot of terms that I've never heard about.
You just love playing them.
I just love playing them, and come to think of it, it made me sound like a rich kid, like that's basically trying to like do these things that it makes you learn the hard way. I remember we spent 6 months working on this project. I remember getting few grants from a couple of entities in the country operating at the time. They were supporting creative industries. And yeah, the game was almost out.
How many months into this
6
venture?
months.
6 months, okay.
6 months. We built a racing game. It was a mobile racing game. It was fun to play. I was super like psyched about, wow, we built our own game. It was nothing like...
Both on Android, Apple.
Yeah. It was nothing fancy. What I loved about it is I got the chance to work with tens of people because a lot of people rallied around this project. A lot of interns especially rallied around the project. The thing that I discovered I was good at is I was good at selling the dream. And this was very inspiring for kids that were my age or younger, who wanted to jump in and work on this. So we had, I remember we were in a place called Startup House in Tunis. This was the very first co-working space in the country. And I remember they used to give us the keys after 8 p.m. And we used to stay all night, and we used to bring our interns, and we had all the space to ourselves. So we had all this huge space. We used to bring pizza, and everybody's working, and yeah, I mean, free beverages for all, and the Silicon Valley dream. And so yeah, the game is ready. Everybody's ready. Everybody is waiting for us to push the button and launch the game. The only thing that basically we had running in our heads is millions are gonna start pouring in.
When am I gonna buy my Ferrari?
Yeah, basically, yeah. By the way, you wake up like at 2 a.m. in the morning and you say, "Did you know that in order for me to buy a red Ferrari, I needed to buy another color first?" So I mean, Ferrari wouldn't give you a red one unless
really,
you had, yeah. And
I don't know.
Like, yeah, I went in too deep.
Okay,
I went in too deep into the delusion of being a millionaire. And we sat down, and I still remember this. It was in a room like this, and we were sitting like with the team, and we had the monitor in front of us, and we were watching the revenue screen like this. It said 0, 0, 0, and we waited an hour.
Based on downloads.
Yeah. An hour, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12. I wake up 1 a.m. in the morning to check the revenue and still 0. 3 months passed by. I remember we made $2.40.
How much was one?
In-app purchases that were like starting from $0.99.
Okay.
So, I mean, in total, I think it was 3 people after taxes.
Okay.
So it's like 247. And later on, I discovered...
What's going through your mind? Are you thinking, I need to advertise?
By the way, I discovered at the time that all these 3 purchases were actually my older brother trying to show support. So when I think of this, I hate him for that.
So, somebody's downloaded.
Yeah, somebody. Yeah,
it was me.
Yeah. I mean, it was an absolute failure. Even if I built the world's coolest game at the time, it wouldn't have worked because I basically skipped the basics. I didn't have marketing. I didn't have sales. I didn't have the right kind of product vision. We built the game for ourselves. So we had fun playing it, but we never thought of this customer experience kind of perspective, and customers, they needed to see things from this part, and we never saw it from a business perspective. We thought that building a super cool game and just dumping it to the market and everybody will welcome it with open arms. Maybe that might be true now with TikTok and all of these things around, but at the time it was a totally different game. It was advertising. It was everybody putting a lot of money on ad mobs. Everybody is spending millions to bring their games forward. And here I come without absolutely any knowledge about anything, without, I mean, not even a single post on social media, and I was like looking forward to becoming the next millionaire. Yeah, I mean, it was disappointing. It was disappointing, and people started losing faith because people gain faith fast, but you can start seeing it fade with time, and it's very depressing for a founder when he sees his team or the people who believed in him start to lose faith in the whole thing, because you can start seeing it in their eyes. And this is when you start getting the dark side of being an entrepreneur, especially when you venture in something like gaming. It's not a very common business.
Yeah.
This is not e-commerce. This is not social media. This is not logistics, where the playbook has been around for tens and tens and tens of years. This is an industry that is ever evolving. The biggest players in the world are based in either Canada or the US or in West Europe. None of these.
Not Japan?
Yeah. 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 I'm a little bit biased about that, but
okay.
yeah. Okay. But yeah, the idea is we are never told how difficult business is. We generally are told how nice it is, how profitable it is, and how you can be sipping pina colada in the Bahamas after you sell your company for tens of millions of dollars, but nobody tells you how they got there.
Yeah.
And how many times they almost quit and basically secretly tried to find a job because they couldn't afford rent anymore. So yeah, I mean it was a good reality check. At the time, the game wasn't making any money. We ran out of money. I still remember I think I had $3,000 left. And I had one
from that $10,000.
No. We, as I told you,
you got some grants as well.
We got some grants as well.
Yeah.
So I was at the time it was totaling around 50,000. So we had 3,000 left, and I had one last shot, and it was Dubai Game Conference. It was 2018, and it was difficult to get a visa to the UAE at the time. So I was gonna just let it go and just close the shop. I was still young. I could get basically a job and continue a normal career. I remember my sister, she insisted that I needed to go. She said, "You've never been to Dubai. You've never seen Dubai. You don't know how it is. It's an amazing place. It'll give you the hope that you lost when you launched the game." And yeah, in a move of desperation, I said, "Okay, let me throw a Hail Mary and let's see what happens." And I got the visa.
Luckily, you got the visa.
I got the visa. Yeah, I got the visa. I mean, I got rejected 8 times before I got the visa. And I got to Dubai. I got to the game conference. And this is where the magic started to manifest. So basically, I was there. And I got a real feel of how the gaming industry really looked like. I've been there with the giants. You see like Activision out there, and you're seeing Ubisoft, and you're seeing all of these big games. And even when you look at the smaller studios, you see like studios with 15, 16, 17 games minimum. And here I am with my single game trying to sell it to I don't know who. Basically, I was desperate.
That same racing game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I was desperate. I was trying to fit it somewhere. I remember 2 days go by. I don't get any business done. But I keep in mind that I remember a couple of telecom operators in there. And I saw a lot of game aggregators. I've seen aggregators with 200, 300 games. They had this huge portfolio of games. And I was like snooping around. What do you guys do with all these games? How do you make money? Who do you sell this to? What's the average revenue that you expect? And I was getting all of these information. And I knew there was an opportunity somewhere, but I didn't know how to react. My very first client was a telecom operator in the UAE. And how I got them was a very sneaky move. And we still joke about it with their team right now. Is I went to them and I asked, I have this racing game. Would you guys be interested in putting it out there as a service for your customers, as an added value service? They said, we like the game.
They tried it out.
Yeah, we love it, but we cannot take just one game. It's not how our model works. Generally, we take multiple games together, we build a platform out of it, and we publish it to the users for a subscription fee whatsoever. I asked them, what's the minimum number of games that you would take for a platform? They said, minimum 100. And I remember there was a company from Malaysia. They came also to the same event, and they were aggregating 300 games. And I went to them and I said, I have a very good contact with the guys in this telecom operator. And I can get you a very nice business opportunity with them if you'd like to basically lease me these games to publish them with the operator. They said, yeah, sure.
They were there at the same conference.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were
okay.
two sides, one on the right and the other one on the left.
Oh, that was $1 million idea.
Yeah. I was like, I went to these guys and they said, okay, would you lease me the games? And they said, yeah, sure. Okay, can we draft like something real quick? We didn't have ChatGPT at the time, so we were scrambling. Let's find a template. We wrote something there and I got it. And then I went back to the operator. Told them, I have 301 games. Would you guys be interested in bundling them in as a service to your customers? They said, actually, yes. One of the services they had reached the limits in terms of the lifetime value. So they're dropping a new service and they are out of games. So this is why they came to the conference. They said, do you have the list of games? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, I opened my laptop and I snuck in the name of our game at the very top of the list. And then I gave it to them. And that was my very first introduction to basically being a gaming aggregator or a gaming publisher. And I said, I think I found my niche. And this works much better for me because it allows me to basically showcase my talents as a person who sells a lot more than just spending all of this money on a game that might or might not work. It took off from there. I mean, from one operator to another. I mean, in less than a couple of years, we were at 46 telecom operators.
In the wider region.
In the wider region, we even did Europe, Africa, all of it, the GCC region, the Levant, absolutely everywhere. At the time, it went from the $2.47 that I told you about to basically out of every dollar spent on added value services and gaming in the region, we were making around 29 cents. So we were making
almost like a third.
We had nearly 30% of the market share.
Oh.
In less than 2 years.
Wow.
This is why I told you it was an inflection point. It was a crazy inflection point. And again, I have to insist, it was merely me trying to sell that racing game to that telecom operator that took me to these publishing guys that basically ended up building the business that Galactech was based on.
And Galactech was that company which was
was supposed to be Delta Dream.
Oh. And you registered that company back home in Tunisia initially?
Yes. And then when I ended up going to the conference in Dubai, we decided to reincorporate in the UAE because I knew this is
where the action is.
This is where it happens. It can't happen anywhere else. This is where it happens.
You had the initially in Tunisia, and then after this deal was cracked, and then you wanted to now make money. It was you registered it in Dubai as well.
Yeah, I mean,
where was it registered? Was it in Dubai?
DMCC.
In DMCC.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yeah. Okay. It was called Galactech DMCC.
This is 2000.
This was 2018. End of the year. Yes. Just to give you a perspective, basically, a lot of people don't know how things business-wise in Tunisia are. It wasn't very easy to conduct business out of there. We do not have the liberty to basically get the money in and out. So receiving payments, you have to always explain them. I mean, I received a payment of $581 at one time. It took me 2 months to get the money in. So it was that complicated. I mean, imagine getting the money out, how it would look like. So I knew I needed to go somewhere else. And Dubai basically gave me this. And yeah, so I jumped on the very first opportunity that I had. And it was with the MCC.
And with that 30% market share, the hundreds of thousands of dollars started to roll
Yeah.
in. Then you contacted Ferrari again. He's like, which color are you talking about?
It kind of left me with a trauma. The $2.47. It left me with a certain trauma. So I wasn't sure that this was happening. And I needed to wait because I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure this is really happening. It was a swift success. And this was what fascinated. A lot of people think that founders and even teams, they are only the ones that build success. But people really ignore the external factors that you have nothing to do with, that are the ones who basically help you a lot. We did this, as I said, in 2018. 2 years later, we were market leader. Then COVID happens.
Yeah.
When COVID happens, all businesses in the world, they were in decline with the exception of gaming. So if I owe something to the success of the company at the time, I'd actually owe it to COVID of sorts, because we kept on growing as people stayed home. And now everybody is receiving these SMSs from their telcos telling them, we have this platform, you have these games and you can play. And at the time we started expanding and we entered esports among other things. So we started off with like small mobile gaming, and then we expanded to bigger things like esports tournaments, and started hosting physical tournaments, hybrid tournaments, and all of these things. It was a pretty interesting journey ever since the start, because we were among the very resilient companies that actually stayed. When we started as a batch of, I remember we were 112 companies in the gaming industry in Tunis at a certain time. I think only 3 remained by 2020 because everybody just gave up. And rightfully so. I mean, I totally understand. We were not fully equipped. We didn't have like this long history of building things, and we don't have experts who can guide us through these things. So I kind of liked to merge business with gaming. It's no longer just about the devotion to the game development, because, mind you, I was never originally a game developer. So I didn't have this kind of emotional bias to the industry. I had a very pragmatic vision to how it worked. And I knew that in order for me to keep my company alive, I needed to merge it with the things that people basically seek, and to kind of have a very beneficial relationship with a sector that's already established, which was the telecom sector. And what made the company successful at the time was people didn't understand that payments was a huge problem in the region. Not everybody had a credit card. Not everybody had a debit card. But everybody had a cell phone. So everybody recharged their phone should they be prepaid. Everybody has, a lot of people have a postpaid phone. So all of these people are able to pay with their phone bill.
Right.
Which makes kids potentially, I mean, people under the age of 18, above the age of 13, also capable of paying, even if they don't have a card. So now I widened my potential customer base. And this was what a lot of companies in my sector at the time didn't understand, and which gave us a very nice edge compared to them, which eventually contributed to the success of the company at a certain moment.
And then you got acquired, right?
Yeah. The story of the acquisition is pretty funny. It was 2022. There was like this conference in Saudi where basically the Esports Federation, the Saudi Sports Federation, was hosting all of the gaming stakeholders. And we received an invitation. I was back at home in Tunis, and it was 10 p.m. And I turned and basically said, I think I'm gonna travel to Saudi tomorrow. And my wife like looked at me and she was like, do you mean like tomorrow? That is like the day after this one, which is like the flight is 10 hours from now. And I was there, yeah. I booked the flight and I arrived to Saudi, no plan in mind as usual. And I was there just to meet some people, just wanted to network and see what's the latest things around. And I met the guys in GB Arena. I've heard about them a lot before. They were praised by absolutely everybody in the industry. Everybody liked them. They were working with the top names in the game, something we didn't have. We were very community based. We were very into the roots. We were offering services to players across the region, but we never worked with big names. This is something that GB Arena had, and I wanted what they had. So I remember sitting down with them and I was pitching how we could work together. I never had in mind the idea of being acquired. But the thing that a lot of people don't understand, we were a super profitable company, something that not very common in the gaming industry at the time. This is what piqued the interest of GB Arena into us. We had a couple of discussions. We had the teams meet. We had a lot of these conversations. And we ended up saying, I think both companies can make a lot of sense if they work together. At the time, we were contemplating creating a GV together. And I said, yeah, I mean, screw it. Let's acquire the whole, let's acquire the whole thing. I mean,
it was about name your price.
Yeah. It was a happy conversation. It was a fun conversation. I mean, no founder would hate to hear these words. What made me happy is I really, really remember the very first day when I started the business. And I still remember, I was back in Sfax. I was back at school. I was going back and forth in like a 30 square meter apartment. I was going back and forth, imagining how this business would look like. And I would be perfectly clear with you. I imagined and I fantasized about this successful company that would be. And I had nothing at the time. I had absolutely nothing. I didn't even know how to build a game. I didn't even know that Unity existed. I didn't know what a game engine is. So at that very moment, the only idea that I had in mind was, this is happening. And it happened 7 years later. I mean, 7 years after I started the company. And it happened after a lot of mental stress. It happened after a lot of times in which I wanted to shut down the business. And unlike what a lot of people might make you think, a lot of founders, they go through with letting go of the business itself. When things are not going right, when things are going wrong, you start looking even for a job at certain moment. I remember myself blaming myself for taking the decision of building the company, because now I ruined my career, because everybody think of me as a CEO. So nobody would hire me as something less than a CEO. And at the same time, I even as a CEO, I couldn't even afford any basics at the time. So it was a good response to my older self that wanted to give up. And yes, I did want to give up. And I'm not going to fake that I was resilient. It was basically out of necessity that I continued doing what I did. But I'm really glad I did. I'm really glad that I didn't stop.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, those moments in your career, I don't know if those chances come upon everybody. It's sometimes almost like divine or God-given.
This is what I say. I remember that at the time I was reading about a study that tells you that people who overcome certain difficulties in life, they don't have any empathy towards those who didn't. But I actually really do. For one simple reason is, you have to be very realistic about the things that ended up with you being where you are now. I'd say that, yes, we did persevere. Our team did a lot of work. We spent nights working, all of these things. But you have to always be thankful for the circumstances that put you where you are now. A lot of brilliant people basically didn't make it because the circumstances didn't help. You're not any better. I mean, you're not the best in the game. You're not the smartest. You're not anything. It's just circumstances put you where you are, and you have to be thankful for that.
You talked about esports, and I mean, MBS himself is a massive
gamer.
I mean, I read Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, and Saudi's investing $38 billion into esports gaming and to make Saudi like a hub for global esports gaming. What does the future look like for this industry?
Just like on a small note, we were at an event with a Saudi telecom company, and the CTO was telling us a story about His Highness. The story was that His Highness was playing Call of Duty. It was like 1 a.m. and he was experiencing a lot of lag. And during gameplay, and they had to fly in the CTO to where he was because they needed to fix the problem because he was losing. So this speaks to His Highness's devotion to the industry. I mean, he's also the chairman of Savvy Games Group, which is
Yes.
Which speaks to that as well. I think it's not just that. I think the investment of the Gulf countries in general into the industry is pretty interesting. Seeing Dubai now having its own gaming strategy. Abu Dhabi did the same thing a couple of years ago. Seeing Oman also catching up to the trend. Everybody now understands that the gaming industry is the future. It plays into the fact that it goes beyond just like push the play button, spend some few hours and just go. It can relay culture, it can relay education, it can relay sentiment, it can rally people around a certain idea. So it goes way beyond just the subtle classic act of playing. And it can reflect way deeper meanings and emotions towards that. So the industry today is at a crossroads. You can see a lot of big names that are really struggling. I don't know if you've seen companies like Ubisoft now is really struggling. I mean, they suspended trading in the stock exchange. They're having some serious cash issues. You see a lot of other companies that are now thriving out of nowhere. You're seeing indie developers that are now rising to the top 10 in Steam or on PlayStation Store. So it's no longer an idea of big corporations and smaller, just independent developers. The field now is leveled. The market is the one who decides who stays and who leaves. And all of
the market being the consumers. So if I like playing a certain game, it doesn't matter if it's from a big corporate, from a startup. I like it.
The market today is super democratized. Everybody now has access. Everybody can see. Social media is super helpful now in relaying which games are the best. You remember what we said before? We didn't make money because we didn't publish. Yeah. Now a single TikTok video can just take you and you can go viral and basically you're a millionaire. And now you're trying to buy yourself a Ferrari.
The Ferrari. Let's talk about a slightly more controversial topic. And since, we're talking about gaming and how it's growing and it's the future, like I said, as a father of two boys who are obviously crazy about gaming, as they would, and I was at my time as well. I mean, the impact of gaming on children.
Yes.
And I remember this was discussed a lot in the late 80s, early 90s, with the parents of the time.
Sure.
I remember those discussions. It was like, you play Doom. And you play, I don't know if you would know, probably before your time.
Absolutely. So, I played it. Don't worry.
So you're playing Doom, which was a very violent shooting game. You're playing Mortal Kombat, and you're thinking, oh, okay, now, the impact this is going to have on your brain, you're going to end up doing the same things. It normalizes killing people or, ripping off people's heads. And now it's changed to the amount of screen time. Like with Roblox. I mean, kids are so addicted to it. My kids are addicted to it. And the conversation has shifted from kids, being violent to kids, spending so much time on the screen and being so addicted that it's going to impact their social skills. It's going to make them addicts. It's going to make them, have, epilepsy, seizures. I mean, what's the truth behind all of this?
Here's food for thought. Basically, one of the biggest issues that people have with gaming is that it's really evolving much faster than what people can keep up with. And essentially, there's some truth to what parents fear. For example, you fear for your kids today with Roblox from predators that basically can enter, and it's a true thing. That was the case of Grow Garden. It was one of the major issues that out there, and the risk is out there. But when you think of it, everything about life is risky when you're a child or when you're a teenager. Even going out to the street, you're at risk of meeting these people. You're at risk of seeing them in a public park or anywhere else. When you think of gaming industry, a lot of people think of, exactly for the example of Doom or the example of Mortal Kombat. I didn't see any children trying to murder people in the street.
No, not at all.
Because
I
they
played a lot of
Mortal
it.
Kombat. I understand, for example, these fears in the US because you do have guns and basically somebody would steal his parents' guns, and it happened, sadly, in a lot of occasions. But you cannot basically generalize this because a couple of things happened. Extreme cases exist everywhere. But again, we grew up playing these games. I fancy myself not being mentally disturbed because of these games. I am a totally normal person. I assume a lot of other people played Mortal Kombat and didn't just dream of murdering other people. Yeah, I mean, just they're blowing it out of proportion a lot. The only thing that I think parents should focus on is trying to build this balance. I do agree with how authorities now are looking towards gaming. They're trying to force parents to avoid making their kids play games that have a lot of social interaction under the age of 13.
Yeah.
Which is something that we encourage a lot. I think it's too early for a kid of 7, 8 years old to basically have voice chat options or messaging options, to avoid all of these risks or to avoid being influenced even by older children. And basically try to focus on keeping this kind of balance between their life outside and their gaming life, because gaming will provide a lot more value than parents actually care to admit. With their linguistic skills, the way they speak, the way they communicate with the world, it's not going to turn you into an autist. Autism is, I mean, everything that you have a problem with, you throw the word autism on. I mean, for God's sakes, focus on original reasons behind that. And it's not gaming. It existed way before gaming. It's going to always be a controversial subject. You're always going to blame everything on computers. You're going to always blame. True. I mean, your head hurts, it's because of computers. You couldn't sleep, it's because of computers. It's how our parents have been. It's how some of us have become as parents. I mean, it just comes with a job.
I remember just recently, my older brother, who's I think he's 47 now, is playing a mobile game, probably a shooting game on his mobile.
Yeah.
I was in the room. My mother was in the room. My mother's, I mean, God bless her, she's 81 now. He was speaking to his friend as well at the same time. And he's like, so, have you died? And my mother's like, what sort of game is this?
Yeah, I mean, we have to admit there's a huge gap that we have to just roll with it.
I mean, do children learn anything from these games? I mean, is it like, can you learn from Street Fighter? Can you learn from?
It depends from what perspective do you have. Games, they do teach you because basically they are a reflection of the people who built them. And when studios nowadays, especially when they build games, they build them with a lot of storytelling in mind. So they respond to certain I wouldn't say ethics, but generally beliefs that they have. The very basic level of what you learn from these things is basically language. And not a single study suggests that gaming harms your communication skills. On the contrary, it basically helps a lot of people speak better English. It helps children articulate better. It makes them have less issues communicating their ideas. And then as you grow and as you play games that are more complex with more deeper storytelling, it starts kind of show you aspects of life. It's a bit, I wouldn't say early, but you didn't encounter in real life, but you can kind of sample them as you go. It's, I don't know, about love, about friendship, about these things. Depends, of course, on which games you're playing, because some of them are pretty dark.
I play Streets of Rage 4 with my kids all the time.
If you ever play Dark Souls, or if you ever play some of the games that I have in mind, I mean, you'd likely have some harmful effect because of them. I mean, it gets really frustrating to beyond saving. But overall, to be very honest, gaming really helps. Really helps build or forge these kids into people that have better communicative skills, as long as you maintain this equilibrium, this stable dose of gaming that they can have. Because 17, 18 hours of absolutely anything is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Working, gaming, eating, sleeping, whatsoever, it's always a bad idea.
How much did you play as a kid? How many
Versus
hours?
now?
How many hours a week were you playing in your teens?
In my teens, I remember we used to have only one TV. So I used to sneak in at 5 a.m. in the morning before my parents wake up, and I just to plug in the PlayStation. So I get like 4 to 5 hours of gameplay during Sundays, and then that's it.
That's it. Not the weekdays.
Yeah, that's it. I get to play as much as I want during summer vacations before I worked. Versus now, I barely play an hour a month.
An hour a month?
Yeah.
Because you're working.
Yeah, no. Ever since I entered the gaming industry, I stopped playing altogether. I mean, it's like
charm.
a curse. It's like a curse. You no longer play. I mean,
because you associate it with work, probably.
Yeah. You cannot dissociate both of them. I mean, it's impossible to like separate them now.
On the work front, when you're scaling a company, so obviously you guys have gone through, how do you hire maintaining the culture and values of the company? I mean, you've seen this company scale pretty quickly, right?
Yeah. Whether you like it or not, it gets diluted. And you cannot really maintain that much control within a certain time frame. Especially when it goes from 10 to nearly 70, 80 people in no time. You cannot really keep up. Even if you have the best HR, and we did, you cannot really keep up. So basically what you do is you prefer to make sure that your own employees become the ambassadors of the company's values, principles. It's not always easy. Sometimes the message gets out there the wrong way. It becomes much harder to maintain talent. But after a certain time, it stabilizes, which means that only the ones who understand the right message will remain. Those who don't will leave. You don't expect people to be as loyal as they were as a small team, because they're no longer seeing you all the time. They're no longer talking to you all the time as a person who's a source of the vision or the person who really built the thing. So the rest of the team, the new guy who joined last month, will not have the same convictions as the ones who stayed in like for the last 7-8 years on the team. So essentially, scaling companies will always have to be, you cannot let the people who were there at the very start of the company, you cannot let them go, because they will be the ones who relay the actual culture that you want to have. And if you just bring new people in immediately and you just let go of all these people, the message will not arrive the right way, because these people didn't live with you the hard time.
That's a very deep point, actually. I never thought of it that way. Is it challenging? I mean, when you're a CEO in your 20s and you're leading a company of such a big staff, is it challenging? Is it more difficult?
One of the reasons why I grew a beard.
So that you can pass off as a little bit older.
Yeah. I look like I'm in my early 20s when I don't have my beard on. I mean, joking aside, you cannot maintain order without certain level of authority within the company. And people kind of struggle to take orders from somebody who's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Unless they really, really, really respect you.
And how do you command that respect?
Here's the thing. The advantage of building the company from the grounds up is you basically can replace everybody. And you can, more importantly, do anyone's job better than they do.
Wow.
I remember at the very early days, a lot of my team, they thought of me as this corporate basically guy who spends all the time speaking to investors and then goes into his fancy Ferrari and like, I don't know, goes on first class flight to Vegas or a place like this. But what you do is when problems happen or any crisis that happen, I basically grab a seat, I sit on the desk and I start doing the work. I get the employees next to me, start discussing these things. I am at the heart of the problem. I am on top of it. I am there to solve and support the team to solve this issue. When you're there, when they see you work, when you explain to them what's the idea, when everybody's panicking and you're over there telling them to settle down and face the problem, we do not care whatever is happening, we're going to solve today. I do not care what this is going to cost. People start to respect you because you're calming things down and you're basically showing them the path to go through when nobody knows what to do. And this is the sign that this is a person that I could trust, because at this moment of crisis, this person really showed up. He grabbed the seat and he sat down and he worked with us through the crisis. And this is something that really, really makes you respect a person, or simply just lose all respect you have for them if they just flee and let you deal with these things on your own.
And when you look at the staff, I mean, a lot has been talked about Gen Z. How do you motivate Gen Z? But I think for a company like yours, they will just slot right in, easy. Or is that?
I mean,
you're Gen Z.
That's the problem. I'm not Gen Z.
Oh, you just?
Not.
Oh, yeah, you just.
I'm a millennial.
You're a millennial. Yeah, you missed it. You missed it.
I mean, as a millennial, I did struggle a lot at the start. We have someone on marketing whose job, she really is there to translate. to basically translate millennial Gen Z and Gen Z to millennial slang of sorts. I mean, they're fitting right in. I'm pretty impressed with this new generation. I've never seen a generation this free in terms of they have a very, very open mind to basically what could be done, and some brilliant ideas come out of them. This is something when I hear my parents' generation always like downplay whatever we do. But now looking at a generation that's younger than us, the Gen Alpha, and I mean even younger generations, they're actually amazing. They're not afraid of telling you what they think. They're not afraid of even sometimes challenging authority, which can be good when it gives you a certain reality check as a boss. I mean, I like it when you ask the team, when you have millennial employees, then generally when you ask them what's wrong, everybody's silent. Everybody just looks at you and, do we tell him? Do we not? The Gen Z guys are not like that.
Yeah.
They just tell it straight to your face. And I like that. I really do.
Capability-wise, what are some of the things that you are struggling to hire for? I mean, when you're assessing people, what skills do you think are short and you're struggling to find them?
I mean, now it's totally different. If you'd asked me this question 6 months ago, I'd tell you I'd start listing them. Now it's totally different. With AI now, things are just like. I'm gonna be honest with you. The problem that I had as a boss is you really struggle to delegate because you want things to be as perfect as anybody would expect them to be, and employees generally struggle to get it as perfect as you can, and you're itching to intervene. 6 months ago, I would have told you one of the issues that we had was to hire middle management.
Okay.
Middle management are really the most important part of any organization. And when the organization grows a lot, you need to be super selective because you have these companies that really make the mistake of hiring, I don't know, this guy is a lead and this guy is a manager and this guy is a director and this guy is above, I don't know what, and this guy is an officer. And you have this chain of 4 people.
Yeah.
Basically, you can just compress into maximum 2 people or even better into 1. But you need that right middle manager that really knows what to do, that really can lead this group of people under them and relay the right message to the company's management. And I think it's the same thing right now. You do not need skills. Accounting, you'll find. Finance, you'll find. You need managers. You need people with the right kind of skill to lead these projects. Basically, AI today, especially now, we do use AI agents. So basically, we have what we call shadow departments. It's as if every head of department has these 100 shadow employees alongside real employees, basically doing the work that a company of 1,000 employees can do. And this is great. But if you don't have the right managers to basically convey the message, to basically get with the right ideas, come up with the right products, and come up with the right ways to sell them, you'll stay in the same problem, is ending up with great products, unable to sell them. So you'll end up with the same $2.47. So that's the thing. I still believe, regardless, AI, no AI, middle managers are always the hardest. The good ones are always the hardest to